Okay guys, so we have finished our model, and I want you to click Shift Z on your keyboard, and it will show you the wireframe of your model. So it's not very high poly, but this one is high poly. Not very high poly, you can still see the polygons, but this is just for a presentation. But if you're going to use this in games or any like rendering that you need to optimize everything, you need to like remove the polygons, other polygons here, that as long as it doesn't affect the silhouette of the model. But anyways, we still use this high poly model for our rendering because we still have good edge flow here that will help us later on once we start UV editing. So after this, we're going to start separating the parts, or let's say I'm gonna remove these parts here, the duplicated parts, then just remain the parts that are already existing, because once we start UVing everything, I'm just going to duplicate the parts so that the UV will just stack on top. Once we start texturing, then like example, I'm gonna texture this part, it will just automatically texture the other parts as well because our UV was stacked. So if you're not familiar with UV editing, I would recommend you guys to start watching tutorial videos about UV editing, because this is not a UV editing tutorial. I cannot explain to you one by one the tools or what, but I can still show you how I UV stuff so that you still get the idea. Okay, so our next task is to rename this first. So I'm gonna name this final. Then we're going to duplicate this because this is our backup folder or backup file. So let's hit Control D. Oops. I think we can just right click, then duplicate collection like that. Forget the Control D anyways. So let's name this final underscore 01, and we can now start hiding this and turn off the selection. Okay, so that we could just work on this copy over here, so that in case we messed up on this file or mesh, we can still have a backup and we can just duplicate once again. Okay, so first what we're going to do is start deleting the duplicated parts over here. Our duplicated parts, obviously the wings. Okay, so let's delete the wings. Let's delete this, and on the other side as well. Okay, next is these rockets over here. You can just delete this as well because you already have here and here. And to this part, we can delete this because we still have this one on the bottom and this one. By the way, if you're asking why I'm not deleting this over here, because we already created a form. Like, we edited the form here, the way it attached the shoe, because once we deleted this, we need to recreate the rotations in the form. So I'll just remain this part. Also for what else? So that's basically it. Also this one, we need to delete this one. Let's delete this one on the right side. And I think that's basically it. The shoelaces, yeah, this is the example that we don't need to like delete the duplicated parts of this one, because we already created the forms. Because once we duplicate this, we're gonna redo this once again. Okay, so what we're going to do is just remain this and we're going to like individually UV this one, but don't worry, it will be easy to UV because we have created a clean edge flow. So that's the advantage of creating clean or localized edge flow, because like if you're going to UV, let's say you're gonna select the edges right here, it will automatically loop around the object seamlessly. So it will be easy for you to UV. Like I'm gonna select this one edge, it will go around, and this one I'm gonna select this and we'll go around here as well. And for the holes, it's easy. Then we can just mark this and unfold everything, and it will be so much easier because we have created a very clean edge flow. Not very clean, clean edge flow. I'm sorry. Okay. So anyways, for this one, we also need to delete this one as well, because we can just duplicate this part. Okay, so let's double check. Also, this part, we don't need to delete this because we already created a form or the orientation for this one. So if we deleted this, we need to recreate this part as well. So it will be very time consuming. Okay. So I think that's basically it. And we can now start UVing. Also, don't forget to save, Control S and hover it to save. Okay, so now we can start UVing our parts, and I will just show you how I start the process of how to UV, but I'm not really discussing everything on what is UV editing. And okay, let's start. Okay guys, so we can now start UV editing our model. So this is not a UV tutorial, so I cannot explain to you guys what is UV. So I will suggest you guys to watch any YouTube or research what is UV editing, but don't worry, I'm gonna show you how I'm gonna UV this one in real time. I don't think I need to time lapse this, but only the repetitive stuffs like the laces, I think I'm gonna do a time lapse for this one. This might took so long to finish. So first, I want you to assign a shortcut. Like for me, I have a mouse shortcut for toggle local view, like this one, like isolating a view. So every time I hit my mouse button on the side, because I have two buttons on my mouse, so I'm currently using Logitech mouse, and there are two buttons on it. So I added a shortcut from its software that every time I click the button over here, it will automatically isolate the mesh. Okay, so if you don't have any buttons or you don't want to use the side buttons on your keyboard, you can just click here first, then go to view, then local view, and you can find this toggle local view. So the shortcut is numpad, what do you call that, a horizontal line, like that, slash. Anyway, so you can just right click this and you can add to favorites. So currently I already added to my favorites, so let's say I'm gonna add it once again. So right click and add to quick favorites, so that every time I click this and hit Q on your keyboard to access quick favorites, you could access the shortcuts here. So I already added the toggle local view, so every time I click that, and it will automatically use the toggle local view mode. Okay, so let's say I'm gonna bring everything back, just hit Q once again and toggle local view. Okay, then our next is we're going to start working on the UV. Okay, so that's the only important thing that we're going to add some a shortcut to before we're going to start UVing our model. So to start with, go to UV editing over here. So it will show you two viewports. So in case you don't have two viewports, you can just go hover here and just drag like that and change this one to UV editor. Okay, so let's start working on our UV. Okay, so let's say I'm gonna UV this one first on the bottom. So let's say I'm gonna toggle local view, then let's go to edit mode and press 2 on your keyboard to activate edge mode, then so that you could select edges here. Then I want you to hold Alt and press this so that it will automatically select around the mesh. So all the edge flow will select everything like that. That's why creating a clean edge flow, it's important, because it will help you throughout your UV editing process. Because once you have messy edge flow, it will this lines will go around and it will be hard for you to like figure out where is the edge connecting. So that's why it's very important to create a very clean, not very clean, a clean edge flow on your model. Okay, so after selecting this, right click, then mark seam. Okay, now it's finished. We need to move to another mesh because our model here, it doesn't have any like complicated stuff. Like we only need to separate the top and the bottom, and we'll just unfold this, and Blender is the one that will just separate these parts and do the math whatsoever. Okay, so let's bring back our other mesh. Then we could start UVing this one. So I'm shift selecting and toggle local view once again. Then we could start UV editing this one. So I'm gonna select this. Then so this part will be separated, then this one will like split into half. Well, it depends on you and how you UV, guys. So this is just how I UV. It depends on your technique, as long as it works and the seams are not that visible once you are texturing. Because if you have visible seams, then once you're texturing it, it will not look good, right? So having a like, it's not really that visible, but clean seams will help you throughout your texturing process. So I'm selecting the edges here. Then right click, mark seam. Okay, so I'm gonna toggle this one only. Okay, so next is we're going to do, I forgot for this part. Mark seam. Okay, this will like split like that, will stretch out. The reason why I add cut here, because this part will be stretched out. Okay, so I'm gonna do the same technique or the same process here to the other parts. So I'm just gonna do a time lapse on this part only, and let's move on to another mesh. Okay, okay, our next part is this one. So let's focus on this one. So this one is also easy to UV. Like I'm gonna select this, then the one inside, nope, let's say this one. Then we could just cut this thing in half, or we could just remain this as it is, because once we unfold it, this part will be stretched. So our next is to cut this one. Oops, shift alt, select this. Then we could cut this one in half here, because the bottom part is not visible, so you don't have to worry about cutting the bottom part. Let's mark this. Don't worry, guys, if you are currently confused on your seams. If you're unsure on what you're doing, you could just fix that after we unfold everything. I'm gonna cut here because this is not that visible, because this is a flat color. So when you trying to, sorry, this is a sharp. So if you're trying to UV something, you also need to like think all the time on which part are you going to texture or add details. So if you're gonna add some scratches or dirts, so probably this part will be obvious, because some dirts here will be cut like that, and parts here that will be cut like that as well. So it's gonna kind of be obvious, and if I'm gonna texture it inside Sunstone Spader. Okay, so let's move on here. This one is also easy to UV. I'm gonna cut it here. I'm gonna add a cut here as well. I'm adding seams to the part where the shoe is hiding. I mean, this part was hiding from other mesh. Let's say this one. You can even see the seam over here because it was covered here. So I'm gonna do the same thing inside here. So when you're trying to add seams on your model, you have to make sure that the part was also covered, or it's not that visible like that. So you can see here, I prioritize this part because it's very visible, this part as well. Okay, so right click, mark seam. By the way, guys, you can add a shortcut on the way you add seams. You can just set it up on your preferences, or you can just, let's say if you're adding seams on the similar model here, so I'm gonna add seams here, right click, mark seam. Then if you want to add another seam, you don't have to right click once again. Instead, you can just hit Shift R like that, so that it will repeat your previous command inside Blender. Okay, so that was just an example, so I'm gonna remove this. Okay, next is this one. Let's focus on this part. So this part is kind of a bit tricky, but it's easy to do because we already created a clean topology over here. Like our edge flow is moving around, and we don't have to worry a lot in editing. So when I click here in the middle, alt click, as you can see here, it will automatically select the edges around. Same here at the bottom, like that, would automatically select it, and right click, mark seam. So inside we also need to add a seam because we're going to split our holes in here. So I'm going to select this in the middle, right click, mark seam. Okay, and we need to split this part. So let me figure out which part is not visible. So at the back here, we can split this because it's not visible. Mark seam. In front, actually we need to separate this part in front, but it's kind of a bit tricky, because we need to stretch. So I think we can add a cut here in this part, because this one will be covered with a cannon over here. So we can add a cut here. Same here as well. Right click and mark seam. Okay, let's move on to other parts. Okay, let's focus on this one. Select this, also the inside here as well. And we need to add a cut at the back. Oops, right click first, mark seam. Select this. But guys, if you want to select this part, then if you only want to select up until here, you can hold Shift and Control and click this one, so that it will not like go along the edges. Shift, right click, mark seam. Let's see if it's not visible. Yup, it's not visible. It's the correct way to cut. We can also add a cut here in front because this part is not even visible. Shift R, shift control, right click, mark seam. Oh, we're gonna do the same thing here. Oops. Click this, shift R, shift control I mean, then we can just shift R. Nope, I cannot. Right click, mark seam. By the way, I can shift R here. Let's say I'm gonna add this one, shift R. Oh yeah, I could sometimes I cannot, you know, but it doesn't matter. Okay, let's focus on this part. Shift R, click, shift control. Oh, mark seam, sorry. Okay, we're done with this one, and this one is the next. We're gonna add inside here as well. This one. Oops. Okay. Right click, mark seam. Oh, we need to clear this. Right click, clear seam. This one as well. Clear seam. Okay. Our next part to be UV'd is this one. So I'm gonna isolate this. Now let's select the middle part over here. Same as here. Oops. Okay. By the way, I'm holding Shift and Alt while selecting the edges. Okay. Now we can right click and mark seam. Let's double check if we already selected all the edges. Okay. Let's select them all, then hit tab to check if which parts are needed to be seamed. Okay, so this one right here, let's isolate this. We can select in the middle as well. I don't think so. I think we'll need to select the edges over here. Only the edges of this one. Then select, no, this one. Okay. Select the edges like that. Then we will cut this thing into half over here, because this part will be split. And this one will be a whole UV island. This part will be split, and we need to cut this part as well, like that. So this one will be divided into 2 islands, or we actually don't need divided. Let's bring that thing back. Right click, mark seam. Okay, this one split, that. This probably will stretch out. We'll figure that out later once we start unfolding our UVs. Okay, this one we already finished. What else? Oh, this one, the tongue. This one's easy. Let's just select the middle edge over here, and we'll automatically like select the edges. Oh, we need to select this one. Okay, then let's cut this thing into half over here. I'm gonna do the same thing on the other side, because it will, if I don't cut this thing into half, the UV will be stretched out like crazy. Same here. So texture will be distorted if I'm not going to cut this thing. So what will happen is this part will be split and avoid the distortions. Okay, so right click, mark seam. What else? This one. This one's easy as well. Just gonna select this. We'll cut this thing into half. Okay. Right click, mark seam. I'm gonna do the same thing here. Since we already marked the seam previously, we can just redo the command by hitting Shift R like that, and it will automatically like add seams to it. Next is this one. This one's easy as well. I can use like a box method, the way I UV boxes for this one, like selecting this. Oops. Selecting these. This one. Like I'm splitting this thing into half. That. This one. And this one. Forgot this one as well. So we'll stretch it out. I think we need to fix this. Let's remove the edge here. Oops. I call this a box method because if you're UVing a box, like you're like, it's like a piece of cardboard. I cannot explain it, but you can find it anywhere in the internet. What I meant. This one will be cut into half. So I don't think this is a good idea. I want this thing to be full island, like they're not split or cut into half. Instead, only the edges. This one is full UV island here. This one, this one, this one. Yep, needs to be cut. This one is still connected. Okay, I think this one's okay. Let's mark seam. We're just gonna figure that thing out later once we are unfolding our model. Okay, let's bring that thing back. Let's go here. Let's put this thing, separate this part. Oops, that. One piece over here. I think this one's okay, I guess. This thing is one piece. Let's remove that thing first. I think I'm going to work on this one. This one's one piece. Let's mark the seam for this one first. Then inside, I think I'm gonna separate this into 3 UVs. One, two, three, four. Oh. like I'm figuring out how much UV island for this only one piece of model. I think this one's okay. 2 islands, like this one will stretch this part. This part will be stretched, I mean. This will cause distortions in this part. I think this one's okay. Let me add. We'll figure that thing later, okay? We just leave it like that. Once we unfold it, then we can just fix that later, okay? So going back here, yeah, we're gonna separate this into 3 islands, I guess. 1, 2, 3. Yep, probably 3 islands. No, this is only one piece, so it's not worth it. So I'm just gonna put it like that. Probably we're gonna stretch this thing out later. We need this one. 3 islands. 1, 2, 3. Mark seam. This is just a circle, you know, it's a cylinder. It will be difficult to like combining them into one island because the UV might stretch out like crazy because it's a cylinder, you know. What else? Finished. This one and this one. Oh, this is gonna be a bit tricky to UV this part. I think I can select this part. That over here. I think I'm gonna divide this part into 2, or I'll just use the box method, same thing that we have used recently. Hold on, this part is kind of tricky to UV, you know. Oh, it's actually a flow, edge flow right here. Okay, I'm gonna cut this thing into half over here. So I'm gonna select the edge right here. Oops. That. What will happen here is it will cut this one and stretch out this part. So I think you need to cut this part as well, because it will be, the results will be distorted. Or I think I'm gonna cut this part. Let me undo that. I want to cut this part here like that. Then this part will be 1. No, it's kind of tricky, you know. UVing parts is very tricky. Not this one. Like that. Oops, forgot to hold shift. Okay. Yeah, create an edge flow over here. Like that. Okay, this one's divided. I think I'm gonna cut this part as well to the top. mark this part first. Mark seam. Okay, this one's. Then this part will be distorted. I think I'm gonna cut this thing to 2. Okay, let's cut this up until here. Click, mark same. Okay, so this part will be 1 island. This part will be 1 island as well, but it needs to be cut. Like, I need to cut them into half. I think I'm gonna create a cut here. So mark seam. Okay, so this part will be divided into 2. Then the overall UV will be divided into 3 islands. Okay. Next is this one. This one's a little bit easy. Like, can use the box method. By the way, guys, there's no correct way here, the way I'm UV, or there's no wrong way either. As long as there's no stretchings on your UV, I mean, as long as your UV works, when you texture it, it doesn't matter. What matters is the result in your render. Because no matter how clean your UV is, if the way you place your UV or the way you like texture it, you can still get those stretching. When you render it, well, it will give you bad results. What matter is you create cuts, or as long as you hide the seams on your UV and it works, well, you're in the right path. So but still, we're in the very competitive industry, so having a clean UV to put on your resume or portfolio is gonna be helpful for you on your career. But for now, we're mainly focusing to create our presentation to be clean. So what I'm working here, my UV is not that clean or very technical. I'm just UVing like very easy UV, which is very obvious, and you can still see seams here if you're gonna texture it later, because I'm mainly focusing on avoiding stretching when I'm trying to texture. Okay, next part is this one. This one's also a bit tricky, especially with this one. Oh, okay, I think I'm gonna separate this into 3 UVs. That 1, 2, 3. Oh, I think I will have 4 UVs for this, because this one's 1 UV, 2, 3. This one's going to be stretched out, but this one, oh, we need to cut this part. Because this will be divided into, I think 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. Yeah, 4 UVs. Okay, this one's next. Look how helpful it is when having a clean edge flow. Like I'm just selecting the edges right away. Mark seam. Okay. Mark seam. Did we UV everything already? Okay, this one already. What about this one? What else? The tongue? Let me check. Oh, UV this is one as well. I think the shoelaces, the last part, we need to UV. Let me check. Yep. Oh, the wings. Okay. Oh, this is also kind of tricky to UV. Because this part was divided into 3. Like I just joined them together. Over here, you can see it here. So I think we need to select them by selecting linked. I want to show you. So let's select one edge here. Then I'm going to click L. So that's one. Then we start isolating it. Oh, I cannot isolate because they're grouped. We need to split them, but it's kind of tricky. Anyways, actually we can just UV this without isolating them, because some parts are visible already over here. Like there's no problem at all. Okay, so we can start. Select the edges. As you can see here, we can still see the final end of the edges. We can still access it here because we have clean edge flow. Okay, mark seam. I'm gonna do the same thing right here. Sorry for the noise. Mark seam. And this part is very tricky. I think we will use X-ray mode because this one's inside. So let's hit Alt Z and Shift X, and yeah, we can access what's inside. But you know, it's kind of difficult to see because they're combining like crazy, like over here. So we want to make sure that we're selecting correct edge. Yeah, we kind of did great over here. Oh yeah, that's cool. Right click and mark seam. Alt Z once again. Then we can start UVing this part. cannot see what's inside, so let's bring back Alt Z. Oops, need to select the first edge. And you guys will be confused on how I see the edges. It's quite confusing, but I think I can see in my perspective, you know. I can see it like this one, the line over here. Like the way I see the seam here, where it ends, I can simply see two lines connected. So like I already have in mind that I need to choose this one, like that. It's more like a common sense on how I see this kind of stuff. Where the line ends, then select the edges. I know it's difficult to see. Okay. We don't need to connect this part. We need to end over here. So let me select this. Oops. Shift Control. Okay. Right click and mark seam. And this part is gonna be tricky, way more tricky. It's going inside, you know. So I think we need to select the edges first. Or we can select this one, then create a cut inside, because this part will be stretched. So cutting will help to remove those distortions. Mark seam. Okay, this one's okay. Next is, we have a cut here as well. I mean a hole inside. This is way more difficult, you know. But I can see a circularization, the way that the edges loops inside here. So we can select this. Now you can see here it's going around. You can just create a cut, mark seam over there. Then let's leave that part to be distorted, because you can see here we add a cut here so that it will not distort. So in this part it will be distorted, but it doesn't matter because it's not even visible. If you're gonna see it on render, it's not visible because it was covered by the wings over here. Okay, so this part will be UV as well. It's easy. We can use the same box method, but I always called it box method. I don't know. It's not even a method, or it's not even what it's called. I just named that by myself because when I started learning UVing, I found it easy to understand by creating a box, because that's the first model I created that I also UV'd at the same time. So it helps me to understand UVing because of just a piece of box or a cube inside 3D software. I'm gonna create a loop over here. It's not clean, but well, as long as it works. I'm gonna create a cut here, like that. Right click, mark seam. Okay, final is the shoelaces. You know what? This is easier This is the one with the easiest part to UV. Like, I'm just gonna select the edge like that, and it will automatically loops. So I think I'm gonna just time lapse this part because there's a lot of them. You can see it here. So what I'm basically doing is just select one edge like that, and it will automatically select around where that. Then just right click and mark seam. I'm gonna do the same thing over here. Right click and mark seam. Okay, so I'm gonna do a time lapse for this one. Okay guys, so we finished UVing everything. Okay, moment of truth. We will find out if we have UV'd everything correctly. If not, then we can just fix it. Okay, so first let's select everything. Tab, go to edit mode, click A on your keyboard and select all toggle, and you can see it's already selected. And let's click U on your keyboard and it will show you this, and click unwrap, and here's the result. So we need to double check our UV first by adding a texture. So let me find some textures on Google. UV checker, and let's download some free UV checker maps. So let's say I'm going to use this one. Let's hold on. We can just right click, save image. Okay, we have downloaded already. You can just remove this. Let's go to shading. Let's create a new material, and I think we need to add a base color here. Image, texture. This is our base color. We can just click open. Let's go to desktop. Let's double check that, and we can add the material for this one. Material. Let's select this. We need to add individually because cannot just highlight them and automatically adds the material to all of it. So we have to individually add materials here. You have to go to material tab and click this one and add a material that we have created. You can actually rename this by double clicking it and rename this UV checker. Okay, so let's add the other parts. I'm actually selecting all the parts, guys. You can also do this the same in modeling tab and set this to textured, or here in material preview, and go back to material, add UV checker, UV checker. What else? This one. It's very time consuming. As you can see, we already see stretched UVs upon checking. It's gonna be difficult to fix. Okay, I think we added, this one. Let's double check. Okay, everything was already added. So next is, we go back to shading. So we need to click this one and hit Control T. It will automatically adds a texture coordinate. So what will happen is we're going to scale the UV here by adjusting the scale like this. So let's say I'm going to add 10. You need to add the same coordinates to the Y and Z as well, so that you will have a uniform scale. As you can see, we already saw a lot of stretching on our UVs. So we will double check it here. Z and material preview. You can basically see here, select all. There's a lot of stretching, especially in this part. Because every time we select everything here, then tab, so you can see the UV here. When we try to unwrap them, so let's say I'm gonna unwrap them once again. U and unwrap. You can see the results here. The UV is distorted and they're not in the correct scale. The reason here is that we forgot to apply the scale and transform for our model. So in order to do that, is we're going to go back to object mode, tab, select everything, right click, Control A, and go to apply all. This will apply all the objects transform. Like in Maya, I think it's called delete history. It's something like that. So in Blender, we will apply the scale, transform, rotation, and like all of it. So let's go hit apply all, and it will apply their scale, transform. So what will happen is all the parameters here will turn into 0. We'll bring back to 0. So basically that's it. So we can now start unwrapping them once again. So select them all, tab, select all the UVs, and we can now hit unwrap once again. And you can see the result here. It's clean, right? Compared to the previous one, our UV is so bad and we have a lot of stretchings. But now you can see here, let's go back to modeling. You can see here our UV is now fixed and we get those squares. In order to determine if our UV is great is upon seeing squares on our UV, because when we try to texture this on a third-party software like Substance, like for example, we're going to texture this, we're going to add some stickers or height maps, like we're going to add a leather texture, you will have clean results because we have a clean texts over here. This acts as a texture for our UV. So I think we need to adjust the textile density for this one, for the last part. So let's select them once again. Select all, go to UV, and let's average island scale. This will bring them back to its original size. Like for example, for the laces, it's small, then inside the UV it has to be small as well. Okay, now is we're going to pack them, because as you can see here we have a lot of spaces. We need to optimize our UV and make sure that we have filled all the spaces here. So let's go back to UV, pack islands. I'm just gonna leave it like this, a default. Okay, now it's done. Now we can double check once again. Let's go to modeling. Great, I think we have finished UVing, and if you see here, it's not that optimized or clean, but it's actually okay for me because we're just going to create this for a quick visualization or a quick tutorial on how I created this one. Because actually I can do this thing way more cleaner if I'm doing this for professional work or for a client. But for now, this is just for a tutorial for you guys to show on how I kind of fix UVs or how I UV this kind of stuff. But if you want to fix this, you can just select them individually. Like you're gonna select this and hit L, and you can just rotate and just manually place them around the UV square or they call it the UV grid, you know. So anyways, I think we have created the UV and we have finished everything. So our next task is to move the duplicate the parts, like the wings in this one. Let's go back to solid. So our next task is to duplicate these parts and place them to their correct places. Like this one, we need to add another one here. So the reason why I UV them first, because once we start UVing everything, so every time we duplicate parts, it will automatically duplicate the UV as well. So that every time we texture this, it will also automatically texture the other part, like for the duplicated parts for this. And we don't need to texture them individually, you know. Instead, we're just duplicating them and using the same islands over here. Like for example, for this one, I textured this part, then we duplicate this one here. Okay, I'm gonna give you an example. Shift D, Control M, flip it like that. Okay, let's say I'm gonna put it here. So every time I texture this part, it will automatically texture this part as well, because the UV island was duplicated here. As you can see here, when I select this G, as you can see, when I move this one, it still has the another UV here, which is this one, because it's duplicated, right? So that's basically our task, is to duplicate the parts. So let's move to the next tutorial. Okay, we can now start moving or duplicating the parts. So let's go back to modeling. Then we will double check if we have flipped faces here. So let's go back here, face orientation. Well, as you can see, we have some flipped faces, so that can be fixed easily. So first, let's select the orange one, because the orange one means these faces are on the, these normal faces in the wrong side. So let's shift selecting them. Then let's isolate. Okay, now we can start working on them. Let's select them all, hit tab, 3 on your keyboard to select face mode, and select all. Then let's go to mesh, normals, and recalculate outside. Now everything is fixed. Let's bring them back and we'll check if we still have those flipped normals. No problem, everything was in blue. Okay, so we can now start working on our duplicated parts. But first we need to bring back our previous work here. As you can see here in the collection. So I'm gonna turn this I here so that it will show you our work. So let's say I'm gonna hide this one. So this is our previous work, but this one doesn't have any UVs, because we're working on the final underscore 01. That's the one that we have UV'd, but this one, it doesn't have UV'd. So the reason why I still have these, because we're going to use this as our reference on the scaling of the parts, like the wings here, or the other parts like the cannon here. So let's bring back our previous work, the original one, this one, the final. So as you can see, it's unselectable because I just turned off the selection. So we're currently working on the final underscore 1. Okay, so our next task is to, first task is to duplicate this. So let's double check what are the parts that needs to be duplicated. I'm currently hiding the final, our original version. So let's work on this one first. Let's select this. I'm currently in object mode, so I'm gonna shift D and I'm gonna move it over here and Control M, and I'm gonna flip on that side. Okay, so let's move it right here. I'm just gonna eyeball this by rotating that. So let's double check if they're aligned. I'm gonna move it right there. Let's hide it once again. Okay, so next is this one. I'm gonna shift D. I'm gonna move it on top. This one as well. Shift D and Control M. Move it here. Just eyeballing everything, guys, so don't worry. Next is this one. Shift D and Control M. Gonna flip it right there. By the way, guys, as you can see here, our cursor is under here, so we can actually fix this. Go to Object and set Origin, and you can just click Origin to Geometry right there. Okay, but our 3D cursor was still here. You can still fix this by selecting this, Shift S, and cursor to selected. Now everything was inside the mesh, or our pivot was in the middle of the mesh. So going back, we can start fixing our placements here. That. Next is this one, the cannon. There's separated parts right there, but we can just shift selecting them both. And same thing, we need to fix our cursor here. So go to Object, set Origin, then Origin to Geometry, then Shift S, cursor to selected. Okay, now let's Shift D. Let's move it here. Actually, we have two duplicated parts here. Let's gonna Shift D once again. Gonna move it there, and I'm gonna shift selecting them here. And we were gonna turn on our work so that it will help us guide on what is the scale for this one. So I'm gonna scale it right there. I think I scaled it too much. Then move it forward. Scale it down a little bit. Okay. The next is the cannon. We need to move there. Make sure it's aligned. Okay. Next is this one. Hold on. Okay. Or you could just duplicate this because we're going to use the same scale. Forgot to move this one. We need to move this one to the x-axis. We'll make sure that it's sticking. This one doesn't look like it's sticking. Okay, let's just duplicate this, Shift D, and we will use the same scale for this one. Okay, I think I scaled it too much. Okay, now let's hide this. You need to move it to the back. Rotate. Move it down. I need to fix the rotation. That. I think the scaling here doesn't look good. Like it doesn't match the way we placed. Okay, this one's good. What about this one? Let's adjust the Z. Okay, next is the wings. Double check first. Let me show the material preview over here. Oops, solid preview, then we need to turn off the face orientation right there. So just double check so we have a better view. As you can see here, it's not that accurate, but as long as it works, it doesn't matter. Oh wait, forgot to fix this one. This one as well. What is happening? Need to move this over there. Make sure it's centered. Like literally eyeballing it. Let me isolate this one to get a better view. Okay, not bad. What about this one? It's basically eyeballing everything, guys. Okay, what about this one? Let me move it. Oops, only this one. The cannons. Okay, let me double check if they have the same spacing over here. So this one a little bit too narrow. Oops. Okay, let me save that. Next is the wings. We will shift D the wings and move it right there. Shift D once again, move it right there. Oh, actually, we don't need to shift D because we're going to use the same size here. So we have duplicated the wings. Next is we need to bring back our reference once again. Then do the same thing. Object, set origin to geometry. Shift S. Origins are selected. Now we can start scaling this and move, rotate, make sure that they're aligned. Rotate once again. I need to scale it a little bit like that. Rotate once again, scale. Okay. Next is we will duplicate this and rotate. We're gonna copy this. The way it rotates. And we're gonna scale it a little bit. And the rotations, it has to face downwards. Now let's hide this one. And let's double check if it works. We need to move this one. Make sure that it's aligned to the hole. And we will make sure that the wings are not overlapping. Okay. Right there to the x-axis. Double check. Now I think it looks good. need to like move it down a little bit, rotate it downwards. I want to get that arrow look like that. Okay, next is we're gonna duplicate everything, all these parts, the wings and the cannons. So let's shift select them. Hold on, I'm gonna rotate this a little bit like that. Okay, let's select shift them. So I'm gonna select the cannons first, the wings. Let me double check if we have aligned everything. Okay, shift selecting them. Next is we're gonna hit shift D, move it here to the right, and control M, hold middle mouse button and move it right there. Okay, now we're going to move this part right here, make sure that they're sticking, and this one as well because it's not sticking. As you can see here, it's not sticking. We can just manually fix this, so don't worry. Okay, this one. Okay, just double check. We need to rotate this, move this to the left. Okay. This one as well to the right. We need to give distance here. Looks good. Need to move this one to the front. We also need to fix the cannons. Oops. This part needs to align here like this one, so we need to move this like that. Oops. Okay. This one needs to move a little bit downwards. Okay. What else? Need to move this one. Okay. Need to isolate this and fix the cannons because it's sticking out. Next, this one, isolate them. It's not in the correct position. This one looks thick, so let me move this one. It will be uniform. This one's not bad. Okay, let's double check if we have in the same orientation. Well, looks good. We'll double check everything here. If we have placed the correct duplicates. Sometimes once we are done, and then we're going to export this for texturing, then once we start texturing we cannot go back to modeling again because it's going to be time consuming. So it's better to double check your model first before texturing everything. The placements, the spacings, make sure they're in the correct form. The UVs, always double check your model before texturing, guys, because it's gonna be a headache if you're gonna do it again from scratch. Okay, I think everything's good. So let me bring back the face orientation. Our next task is to bring back our material. Click Z and material preview so that we could double check our UVs. As you can see here, we have a clean UV, we have consistent squares, square grid, the one that we have downloaded it on Google. So everything's fine. I think we're good to go. We can now start texturing our model. So let's select these, UV editing, edit mode, and everything's good. So basically this is not a optimized UV. It's not clean, but you will never gonna notice that once we have start rendering this, unless I'm gonna show you the UV for presentation. But basically the work here is just for presentation, a graphic design presentation. So it doesn't matter, the UV doesn't matter at all, as long as we have clean UVs, like there's no stretchings, like the one you can see here. We have clean UV. So once we are texturing it, we can achieve clean results, you know. So if we have clean results, our texture will be look good, and we can render it in a nice way and present it to our clients or audiences, you know. So anyways, we're finished and everything's done. So let's hit Control S, save, and now we can bring back our solid. Let's go to our material here. We can now start deleting this, so hit this minus button. Next is let's add a material, and let's rename this what should we call this? Sci-fi sneaker. Let me make it all caps. Sci-fi underscore sneaker underscore matte. It means material, not Mateo JFX. Sorry. Okay, anyways, so let's select them all, and I think we forgot to delete the UV for the other parts. So to double check, let's hit Z, go to material preview. So let's select individually and delete the material here and add the previous material, the sci-fi sneaker mat. Okay, so let's click this, delete, and let's add the sci-fi sneaker mat. Sci-fi sneaker mat, or we can just automatically change it right away, you know. So I'm gonna do a time lapse for this one because I'm just literally changing the material for each part. I actually don't know how to do it quick, like I'm selecting everything and just apply the material. I don't know how to do it inside Blender. I'm just literally manually changing them, which is very time consuming, but it doesn't matter, it's okay because I only have few models, so it's okay. Sci-fi sneaker. Oh, I don't need a time lapse for this, guys. Go time lapse. Linti mo naman. Time lapse mo niya. So might as well do it manually. I like teaching. Our problem here is that my English is a little bit too common. Like, I always paused, and I know some words, but I cannot use it when I'm doing it in actual. Okay guys, so we have finished adding all the materials on our mesh. Now this model is ready to export. So let's select them all, Control A, let's apply everything, like deleting history. Control S. Let's save that. Next is we can now start exporting it. So let's select them, highlight, file, export, FBX. Then let's look for the folder that we want to save. So I'm gonna name this sci-fi sneaker final. So let's play with the settings here. So let's limit to selected objects. Let's hit that, so that everything we're selecting here are the ones that are going to export, because once we deselect this, everything will be exported, including the camera. So we don't want to do that, okay? So we want to limit only for the selected objects, okay? So let's turn this thing on. Check that. Over under animation, we don't need an animation because we don't have any animations or bake animations. Apply modifiers, leave it like that. So the important part here is the selected objects only, okay? So it doesn't matter if you're not gonna attach any settings. Selected objects, then we can now start exporting it, okay? So export FBX, and now it's exported. Let me check my file over here. So where is that? I'm currently looking at my my second monitor. I'm looking for that file. Documents. Because I actually have a lot of files. Okay, it's here. Okay, so it's here. I'm currently opening it, and it's here. So upon checking, we have I think this one's a normal map, I guess, or yeah, this one as well. We forgot to add the material over here, so yeah, that's why it's important to double check it too, using the 3D viewer inside Windows. So let me do this. So let's double check. So let's hit Z, material preview. Oh, this part doesn't have any materials, as you can see here. So let's add a material for this one. So let's select this. Sci-fi sneaker mat. Sci-fi sneaker mat. Sci-fi sneaker mat. Forgot to add materials for that part, and including this one, because it's hiding under, so I cannot see it. Okay, I think everything's fine. So let's select them once again. File, export, FBX, selected objects, and let's replace this. And we can now start double checking it. It's currently here, guys. So I'm just gonna double click this. And okay. Oh, there's another one I forgot. Sorry. It's this one. Sci-fi sneaker mat. Okay. Once again, file, export, FBX. Okay. Save. And let's reopen that. Let me put it here and double check. Okay, everything's fine. Looks good. Let me add some other materials. It's basically a lighting here. The blue one, it's not a normal or what. You can just rotate it like that. Another material. Okay, everything's good, and we can now start texturing this inside Substance Painter.